What's going on, guys and gals, and welcome to Good Reel Hunting, where we hunt for the good reels so you don't have to. It's your boy Brad. Got the Brett man over here. Brett, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am in such a good mood right now if I could just box somebody.
You and me both. Now, in today's episode, we want to talk about a little bit about Rocky Balboa, the Italian Stallion. And the reason being is
and this actually before Brad, I know Brad's all excited because he loves his boy Rocky Balboa. But this is our very first segment that we are trying now called Character Breakdown, which pretty much the whole purpose of this video is we are going to talk about a character and we're going to break it down.
Yes, we will. So I wanted to, now I know this Rocky, let me preface this by saying Rocky is my all-time favorite movie. And I'm definitely going to get more detailed as things progress in the Rocky franchise. But I wanted to just kind of talk to you guys today with Brett here. Obviously, we both want to talk to you guys today about the Rocky character in general. It's my all-time favorite movie character. So we wanted to kind of just talk about that and get things rolling, get the juices flowing on in the Rocky franchise. Again, we're going to do a whole Rocky thing down the road. We're going to get more detail down the road, but let's talk about the character of Rocky, Brett. Are you excited?
Dude, I love Rocky. I love the character of Rocky Balboa played by Sylvester Stallone. Like, if you had like any other person played the Rocky Balboa character, could it work? Yeah, very good chance. But just Sylvester Stallone just created such an iconic character in the film industry.
Right, you are, Ted. Now, obviously, the original.
Wait, you're supposed to call me Bert.
Yeah, but Ted's a good name for you. But no, so the original Rocky came out in 1976. Obviously, this movie was written by Sylvester Stallone, actually, as a matter of fact. And everybody knows this. You guys know this. Brad, I'm sure you know this. Everybody knows this. Mm-hmm. It's written by Stallone. He essentially wrote this story about himself as, somebody who's just not necessarily making it in the acting world, in the world of acting, if you will. He's the underdog of actors, essentially. He wrote the story, sold the script, but he's like, you know what? You can't have the script unless I get to be Rocky. I get to portray Rocky, and that's where we get
and
Rocky
that's kind of fitting, really. That just you have Sylvester Stallone being an underdog and Rocky Balboa being the ultimate underdog. Like, I feel like that's really fitting.
It's absolutely fitting. That's why I love it. That's why I love the writing. That's why I love the character. That's why I love Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa, the Italian Stallion. Yo, Adrian, what do you think? What do you think maybe we get together later, for some laughs, like, maybe you and me, we could go out for some dinner, maybe laugh a little bit, who knows, I've never really talked to a door before, but,
And ladies and gentlemen, this is how you know this man loves Rocky Balboa.
So, okay, the 76 movie starts out, Rocky Balboa, he's fighting Spider Rico, he's very good, he was doing very good last night. He's fighting Spider Rico. They got some kind of underground boxing thing. There's a big portrait of Jesus Christ up there, and he's looking down. Rocky's fighting Spider, and you learn a lot about the Rocky character at this point because he's sitting there. I guess we should. Should we break down? Obviously Rocky himself. Let me go back. Let me just backtrace a little bit. We're talking about the character of Rocky overall. So he was in what 5, 6. 8 movies thus far, the character of Rocky.
Including the 2 Creed movies.
Exactly, spanning from the original Rocky all the way up to Creed 2. Okay, so we get a full display of the Rocky character from his youth, where he's about 30 years old, all the way up to now where he's in the 60s, I guess maybe 70s, I think is where Stallone's actually at, but he's teaching Creed how to fight. But we'll get into that. We'll get into all that. So you start the first Rocky movie fighting Spider Rico there in the little, underground boxing for what we'll call it in Philadelphia. We see them duking it out. The fans are not really into it. They're booing, they're throwing stuff, whatever. And he's just fighting. He's making, at the end of the match, he gets what, $40, $70, $60, something like that for winning. All that gets taken. At the end of the day, he gets a decent amount, but then by the time he pays all of his fees, it's like $40. Okay, he's at the lowest point of his life, essentially.
No, barely making it.
barely making it. He's doing it. He wins his fight. He's getting stitches, and he's like, "Hey, when can I fight again? You know, I need to make some money. You know." Um, so like, it's a great introduction to the character of Rocky. You get the fight, you get the locker room scene where him and Spider are hanging out, and you can just tell the guy is just, he's just there. He's not necessarily good. He's not necessarily bad. He's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just living life, a normal dude in boxing. And he's just doing what he can. So, I mean, the reason I love this movie is because freaking, yeah, like you said, the first half of the movie, Rocky's no matter what he does, he can't get ahead in life. Every decision he makes is like, okay, cool, you're making the wrong decisions. He's working for Gazzo. He's got to collect the dude's money on the docks. He goes out there. He's supposed to break the guy's thumb. He doesn't break it. Okay, cool. We can see the guy has a good heart, but then he gets in trouble a few minutes later from Mr. Gazzo. He's like, dude, if I tell you to break a guy's thumb, break the guy's thumb. You're making me look bad and all this. But I love all the shots you have of Rocky just walking down the street, bouncing on his little ball. Like, it's just great stuff building up his character. Okay. You get all this going on. The first half of the movie it has really nothing to do with boxing. It's all about building up the character of Rocky. Mm-hmm. And he's just a dude living life again, like we said. And then we get introduced to Adrian at the pet store. He goes in there and we talked about how much he loves Adrian. He goes in there and, they talk, he makes his little jokes and stuff, you can tell kind of like his main goal is to go out with Adrian, that's all he really wants. What I'm talking about?
Yeah. And perfect combinate relationship between Adrian and Rocky. Adrian is this shy girl while Rocky, is just like uplifting, like, hey, Adrian, like just being like all like high spirited. And I feel like it's perfect for Rocky to lift her spirits up and like for her to come out of her shell, which that's kind of funny because they get pet turtles, like
they get shell shocked, they get shell shocked. No, you're right. That's a good point because he's always doing that. He's always positive, no matter what life is throwing at him. The fact that he's so far down in life, he's always still positive, and that's what I really like about him. He's doing the thing. We find out later in the movie, of course, that he's not necessarily as happy in life as he kind of portrays in the first little bit. Mm-hmm. But then let's just jump ahead again. I don't want to get too much into this first movie because we're
going to be doing a Rocky franchise down.
We're going to get very deep in the Rocky in the future in our channel.
That'd probably be an hour-long review, but again, seriously, rightfully deserved.
Yeah. So he gets like later in the movie, obviously Apollo Creed, his opponent, he can't fight anymore. So Rocky gets now we get introduction to Paulie and all this stuff, but Rocky gets the opportunity by the promoter for the challenge of Apollo Creed for the championship. Okay, and at first he turns it down. He's like, "No, I can't do that. I can't do that." But then he ends up accepting, and obviously Rocky and Adrian at this point start dating. We get an awesome first date with Adrian in the movie. Where they go and
the ice skate rink,
the ice skating rink and stuff like that. We get all that. And then we kind of, we progress forward. Obviously he meets Mickey. He doesn't meet Mickey. Mickey and him have known each other for some time. Which kind of goes back to the Mickey gym where he goes back. Like it's just another layer of his downfall, I guess. He
like the backstory.
Yeah. His locker gets taken by the newer boxer, up and coming boxer. And Mickey's like, you know what? You're a tomato and all this. He said, he just kind of building more into his negatives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mickey, right?
Yeah. Mickey. Yeah.
Mickey. I loved his character. Like perfect coach for Rocky because, Rocky's the uplifter and sometimes like his, always being positive can also sometimes cloud his judgment. And that's why Mickey's there to keep him focused and to tell him the hardcore truth. Yeah. And like, hey, this Apollo guy's going to kick your ass. So you have to focus.
Yeah. And so when Mickey shows up to Rocky's apartment, that's a very important scene in the movie. He said, hey, you need a manager. You need a manager, Rocky. I never had no manager. And they talk, and obviously Rocky. This is where we get the idea from Rocky that he's not as happy in his life as he's made it seem. thus
Mhm.
far. He's like, it
Which
stinks in
again,
here.
that's easily relatable.
Yeah, it stinks in here. He's hiding it. He's like, okay, it stinks in here. And then Mickey walks away. He goes off on that awesome freaking little monologue there. Mickey walks away. He runs out, catches up with him. He's like, yeah, I do need a manager. It's implied. Mickey starts training him. Obviously, we get the iconic training sequence, and then we go into the fight with Apollo.
Gonna fly now.
It's freaking awesome. Just before the fight, the night before the fight, you get a great scene with Rocky and Adrian talking. They're laying in bed, and Rocky's like, you know what? Yeah, all that really matters is that I want to go the distance with Creed. Nobody's ever done that. I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to make sure that people don't think I'm a bum from the streets. He's like, I don't want to get beat. I just want to go the distance. That's the most important thing. We go to the Rocky fight. He goes the distance. He loses via
like kind of like a time, like they went 10 rounds, right?
15 rounds. They went
15 rounds, and they went all 15. So they just did by judge's decision.
Split decision. Yeah,
split decision.
He loses via that. But he does not care at that point. He's made it to 15 rounds. He's always talking about Adrian at that point. Adrian. She comes out. That's all he cares. He doesn't care win, lose, draw. It doesn't matter. Adrian comes out into the movie. Okay, fantastic first act. And again, this was the only movie that was ever intended of being at this time. This is the only one he wrote. Obviously, it won Oscars and all this stuff, and they made another one. But at this point, you have a full arc for the character of Rocky. Like he grows into a dude. He fights. He trains. He doesn't care if he wins or loses. He loses, but he goes the distance. That's what he wanted to do. He accomplished that. Nothing could stop him from doing that. No judge. Nothing could stop him from going the distance. All it took was his own will, and amazing scenes in that freaking fight. And we'll get into that down the road when we do our reviews. But
yeah, no,
it's awesome.
Is not happy.
Paul's not happy. There ain't gonna be no rematch. They said that.
Yeah.
Now that's exactly what freaking what he wants you to think. But then Rocky 2 comes along, and then that develops the story of Rocky more so. Okay, because he gets a pretty nice little paycheck from the fight with Apollo in the first one, $130,000, something like that. Some of that goes to taxes. Him and Rocky get married. They have a kid. They buy a house. He buys cars. He buys jackets. He buys freaking collars for his wrist. All this stuff. And you can kind of see him. He's spending more money than he made, essentially, is what happened. And he feels.
But again, that's relatable because like he just came from nothing, and now he has all this money, and like he's now finally buying the things that feel like will make him and his family happy.
Exactly. He's just buying. He's crazy. He's never had money in his life. This is a guy that came from absolutely nothing. He hit it big once. Never had money. Absolutely does not want to fight Apollo again. He said, "I'm completely happy. I'm retiring. Everything's good to go. I'm going to do commercials now, Adrian. That's what I'm going to do." Obviously, the commercials go atrocious. He says, "Hey, my name is Rocky Balboa, the Italian Stallion, and the Beast Aftershave is here for you if you want to smell meanly." You know what I'm talking about? Like all the commercials, like they go horribly wrong. He doesn't make the money he needs from the commercials. Apollo this whole time is like, God dang, this dude is freaking. He just went the distance with me, and yeah,
and then like the whole world thinks I can't beat this guy, and I got to prove the world wrong.
Yeah, it's embarrassing for Apollo. So the whole movie, he's trying to get Rocky to fight him again. Rocky's not interested, but he keeps like, and Adrian's definitely not interested. She doesn't want him to fight anymore. And he respects that. He tries to get a job at the meat factory and all this. He gets laid off. More hard times for Rocky. No matter what he tries to do, life is hitting him hard, at this point, which is foreshadowing for later for the speech we get. Life is hitting him hard, and he just keeps getting up, but life keeps knocking him down, like he keeps trying to, the commercials failed. The meat factory failed. He tries to get another job. He doesn't want to do menial labor, as they call it in the movie. He wants to get a nice job or he can just work in the office. None of that works, okay? All he's got is his money from the previous fight. He gets laid off in the meat factory, and eventually he's like, you know what? I'm a fighter, I'm supposed to fight. Yo, Adrian, I'm a man, just let me do my thing. And she's like, I don't want you to fight. He trains with Mickey, goes atrociously wrong. He can't fight. He can't focus because Adrian's not behind it. Because this is another instance where we can see how important Adrian is to his character. where he's like
he fights for Adrian.
he fights for Adrian. Adrian is the only thing in the world that matters to him. Kind of going back to the end of the first fight, Adrian's the only thing he cares about, the only thing he's fighting for. He's happy with Adrian, and that's it. He doesn't need anything else to be happy. But at the same time, he's got to provide. Adrian's pregnant; she can't really work. She tries to work, it fails. She gets she goes into premature labor, has the baby, little Rocky Jr. But then I love the sequence where he's training. He can't focus on training. Adrian then gets sick. He's like, I'm not training anymore. This is after he accepts the rematch. He's training for the fight. At first, he doesn't have Adrian's approval. He's not into it. And then she goes into the coma after the birth, and he just stops training altogether. And then you get the moment where she wakes up from the coma and she said, Rocky, I just want you to do one thing for me. And he said, yo, what's that? And then she says, win. And it cuts to the freaking badass training montage with Rocky just tearing.
Sorry, I'm getting chill bumps right now just because that's like this movie gives you damn chill bumps.
It does, dude. And like at that point, he's got the approval he needs. He just jumps into it. And it's one of my favorite training montages of the whole franchise.
Yeah. And I'll quickly throw out there too. I know it might be controversial, but Rocky 2 is my favorite Rocky movie of all time.
It's my second favorite.
Yeah.
It's my second favorite.
But again, like it's always back and forth between those two, but I just loved Rocky 2.
Yeah, I love it too because it's so much. It goes so well with the first one. The characters are so similar, like you can tell it's the same character. I mean, he trains, he tears it up, and then it's time to go fight. Okay, this fight is completely different from the first one. Okay, Apollo is taking him completely serious at this point. He's trained just as hard as Rocky this time. He wasn't taking him lightly. He's kicking Rocky's ass in the first couple rounds. Like Rocky has nothing to do with Apollo at this point. He's not in the same ballpark. He's getting freaking knocked around. And then you get Rocky. He gets up. He sits up and he says, "I ain't going down no more." You know, he gets mad. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And then it starts playing the song, and then the fight goes on. It's still leaning towards Apollo. Apollo's still beating him, but he's taking everything Apollo's got at this point. Like you could say, he's got the motivation back. He's got the eye of the tiger, so to speak. And he's ready to rock and roll, dude. He's getting freaking knocked around, but he said, "I'm not going down. I'm going to take everything you got, and I'm not going to let you win this thing." And then you get the freaking phenomenal ending of the fight where Rocky and Apollo. Oh yeah, dude. He knocks him down, freaking left-handed. He switches hands for to trick him around, but then he goes back to the left hand, freaking knocks him down. He gets up at the very end, and then Apollo falls down, and then you get the freaking the best freaking moment ever, man. Just freaking
getting chill bumps again. Sorry.
I know, dude. And he stands up and he said, obviously Adrian's at home. She just had birth. And he gets on the TV. He said, "Yo, Adrian, I did it." And he's crazy. Yeah, it's awesome stuff.
I even wrote that on top of when I graduated from Chattanooga. And, you can do the sign on top of your cap.
Yeah.
I literally said, "Yo, Adrian, I did it."
I know, dude. It's so powerful because it's honestly a total arc from the beginning of the first movie to now. It tells the story so well. They could have ended the franchise there and it would have been great, but they didn't. So we get into Rocky 3. We'll kind of brief over Rocky 3 at this point.
I feel like we'll brief at this point.
Yeah. So at this point, Rocky's feeling pretty good. He gets kind of sucked into the fame of things. Okay. That's kind of the whole arc of this movie. He's famous now. He's got the suits. He's got the nice house. He's got the nice cars. He's got all the money in the world.
You can go.
Yeah. He's got the championship. He's got everything. He went from total bottom down here. He went from zero to hero now. And he's winning everything. He's getting all these fights, easy wins, knockout. Clubber Lang comes along, beats the shit out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Mickey informed Rocky. It's like, listen, I kind of like set up all those weak fights so you can stay on top. But this Clubber Lang guy, he's a whole different breed. He's hungry. He was like you. Like he was kind of like he's like you when you were in his shoes. Like you kind of know what I mean by that.
He's got the eye of the tiger.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It goes
that song. That was pretty much the whole theme of the movie was the eye of the tiger.
And one of the most important parts of that movie, I think, is when he's first training. He's training for the first Clubber fight, and he's going. Him and Mickey's like, "Dude, we got to take this guy seriously." And he's like, "No."
Like they're
he's
not
like,
on the same page.
Yeah, he's taking pictures with people. He's just kind of half-ass training and stuff. Kind of going back to the way Apollo was in the first Rocky movie. Like you can see, he's got, it's going back to that. He surpassed the Eye of the Tiger, and now he's back to where Apollo was.
Dude, and I'm
He's
glad you
taking,
brought that up, and I'm going to go into it here in a little bit.
yeah, and you can tell he's taking him lightly. He doesn't care. He thinks he's on top of the world. Nothing can beat him. He's Rocky. He thinks everybody he's going to fight against is going to roll over and let him win, essentially. Not literally, but that's kind of his mindset. And you can tell he's not taking it seriously. He goes in against Clubber, gets his ass beat. Okay, and Mickey dies, which is very, very important for the character. Mickey's meant everything essentially to him as far as his professional life goes. And he's become a good friend. Obviously, he lives with him and Adrian and things like that. But
yeah. Then again, life punched him again.
Life punched him again, dude. Knocked him back down, and then who freaking shows up? Apollo Creed does. He's like, I'm done with fighting. He goes back to Mickey's gym. He gets left the gym. He goes back up there. Apollo's waiting for him, and he gives him a phenomenal speech where he said, this dude, he was hungry. You haven't been hungry since you took the title from me, is what Apollo says. You had whenever I faced you, you had the eye of the tiger, and there was nothing that I could do to beat you. Essentially, is what the in a nutshell what the story went. The dialogue went.
Yeah.
Is this what you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. Like how you said that, kind of like how Clubber Lang was was in the shoes of Rocky when Rocky was at his low. Again, that eye of the tiger. That's why when Apollo Creed was at his high, kind of like how Rocky was at his high at the beginning of the third one, and Creed got brought back down low. Creed was the perfect person to get through to Rocky on how you can recover from that.
Exactly.
And that's how the friendship began. And I think it's one of my all-time favorite friendships in the entire movie industry.
Yeah, it was so great. It was such a great way to bring back Creed and to develop a friendship, because it's identical. The stories are identical. It's just now that Rocky swapped places. He's Creed, and now Clubber is Rocky. Gets his ass beat. Couple rounds, easy.
But Clubber
peasy.
Lang's not the champion because what was it? Was that an exhibition match?
No. Clubber Lang
it was
is the
a
champion.
Championship. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm getting
Clubber Lang is the
I'm getting
champion.
that one and Creed 2 mixed up.
Yeah, very similar stories. Yeah, he's definitely the champion. But Apollo comes back, says, "You got to get that eye of the tiger back, my friend," and he does. He takes him back out to California, and one of my favorite parts of the whole franchise. Him and Rocky are out, or I'm sorry, Rocky and Adrian are out there on the beach. He's training with Apollo. It's not going well. It's similar to his last couple of training sessions, like the one in Rocky 2, where he's just not feeling it. You can tell it's not in his head anymore. He doesn't care. He's just kind of half-assed doing his training. But then him and Adrian and him are talking out on the beach, and she's like, why are you even doing this anymore? Like, you can't do this for the people. You can't do this for Mickey. You got to make sure you're doing this for you. And he's like, and then he gets it. He's like, okay, like a light bulb goes off. It clicks for
Adrian
him.
is like, you're tougher than you look. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's a great freaking scene between the two of them. Again, it goes back. Nothing in the world means more to Rocky than Adrian. And to have her kind of kick him into shape here on the beach is great. And it's awesome because Adrian kind of takes a back seat after Rocky 2. Almost within Rocky 3 and 4, but she's so important in this movie. She's the one that kicks him into gear on the beach, and he just gets light bulb. And then you go back to him and Apollo. They're racing on the beach, dude. They got the freaking sunsuits.
Another great montage.
Yeah, dude, it's freaking great stuff, man. He's swimming. He pulls Paulie in. He gets jacked. He loses weight. At the end of the movie, he goes in, and then he kicks the shit out of Clubber Lang's ass at the end of the movie, dude. Just beats him out, man. Like, what, 3 rounds, I think is what it was? 3 rounds?
Was it real? Damn.
I think it was 3 rounds.
It's been a while since I've seen 3, but damn. I like that does not come as a surprise because, again, when Rocky has that eye of the tiger, you're screwed.
It's so important. It's so important. So the moral of the third movie is fame took him over. Confidence took him over. His overconfidence was his weakness. And he gets beat. He gets kind of taken back to where he was before, reverting back to the original character of the Rocky. And then he kicks the ass of Clubber Lang. And then that's it. That's essentially it. He's got the tiger back. We go to Rocky 4.
And, of course, we have that famous ending scene between that famous third fight.
Yes.
Between Creed and Rocky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ding, ding. Yeah. Which, again, with, dude, the water coloring of that, amazing shot.
That was fantastic. It's fantastic. We go into
So,
Rocky Four. Not a lot of great character moments in four. It's just a badass '80s movie. Obviously there. I mean, there are some things that progress. Obviously Apollo dies. Rocky gets motivated again. They have it. One of my favorite parts is his scene with Adrian in the stairwell, where she's like, "You can't do this, Rocky."
and we're talking about Drago too,
Yeah,
like
we're talking about Drago.
the main villain.
Yeah, where he's talking, you don't need to fight this guy. And he said, well, in order to beat me, he's going to have to kill me. And
Hmm.
in order to beat me, he's going to have to kill me.
Or
And
it's like something like I'm a fighter,
yeah,
but
well,
it goes
okay,
back to
it's
that whole
essentially this.
fighter mentality.
In order to beat me, he's going to have to kill me. In order to do that, he's going to have to be willing to die himself. And it's one of my favorite quotes of the whole franchise, because it's taken it to a personal level now. Again, this is far beyond the original intent of the Rocky character from 1 and 2, but
Hmm.
he's at this point you can kind of still see that he's the more motivated anybody you've ever met in your life, and he's ready to rock. But that quote, "In order to beat me, he's going to have to kill me. In order to do that, he's going to have to be ready to die himself," was one of my favorite moments of the franchise as well. And then he goes to Russia. He agrees to fight him out there. Good. I mean, essentially, yeah. Another training montage after training montage after training montage. He fights him.
Pretty much the base of Rocky Four is montage.
It's montages. He gets his ass beat, but he doesn't. He never quits. Again, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And he keeps doing that. He ends up winning again. That's pretty much it for Rocky Four as far as the character of Rocky goes. It's very. I mean, there's not a lot there for the character. I mean, it's a great
Hmm.
movie. I love it. It's a blast. But as far as the character arc of Rocky, there's just not a lot there. So I mean, I don't really have anything
Yeah.
else to say about Rocky Four.
Yeah, and then of course Rocky Five's pretty quick too. Just the actor effect of Rocky Four, and then again you're at that high, and then you go immediately low again, like just kind of like right back where it all started again.
Oh yeah, another hit down. They lose all their money, everything they ever had, all their success. They move back into the Philadelphia home, um, and I mean, compared to the other movies of the franchise, it's a few notches down. I still enjoy watching it just because of the character of Rocky. Really is so interesting that he
Hmm.
can kind of carry it. I still, it's not a bad watch. Now, Rocky Five, it could have been a good ending to the character of Rocky. He's not medically cleared to fight anymore. He does the street fight, and that's it. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's not needed. I mean, I guess they could have just wanted to throw that. They didn't want the character of Rocky to end at Rocky Four, so they bring Rocky Five in, take him back to his roots, has a street fight, done. He's retired. He's living back in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Okay, end of that. Could have been, and for many years, that was the end of the Rocky character. For many years. But then we get Rocky Balboa in 2006. And it's many years have passed. Adrian has now died. No more Adrian. It's just Rocky. His son's there, Robert, and he's got a restaurant, Adrian's and all this. Boxing is done. Adrian is done. He's just living life again, going back to the roots of the original movie. He's just there living life. Now, albeit more successful than before, he's making enough money. He lives the life. He's happy. He's content. No problems. He's got,
Yeah,
his
but
son.
again, just kind of like that dark cloud that's Adrian. He doesn't have Adrian, so it's like what's his purpose in life now?
Exactly. He's just there. He's just living life. He's paying the bills. He's having a good time. No problems. Um, and then, Robert, the only thing he's got, like his relationship with Robert is not the strongest, his son.
Hmm.
And, Robert's feeling that he's living in the shadows of Rocky, and Rocky's like, he just wants to be a good father at the same time. Just kind of get, and again, the first half of the movie or so is all just character building. It's all just,
Hmm.
you go back to, they do the little tour, is what he calls it, where they go back to, their first date with Adrian and his first apartment with Adrian and all this stuff. And it's just kind of getting refamiliarized with the character of Rocky. And it's great stuff.
Hmm.
Absolutely love it. Mason Dixon's out there tearing shit up out there in the boxing world. No opponents to really to match with him. He's kicking everybody's ass. Boxing at this point is not as popular as it used to be. Mason Dixon, he's the champ. Nobody's challenged him yet. Legitimately, no problems. Um,
And then
And
that's when
then
the sports, like kind of like Sports Center goes, what would happen if these two boxers go one on one? We actually have a simulator to show that. Then they show that simulator, which I
exactly.
thought was like, okay, but
It's a little weird. It's a little weird. But they come back to Rocky, and he's been kind of thinking about doing some small scale, local fights just to kind of have some fun. He's in his 50s now, nothing crazy. He's just trying to have a little bit of fun. He gets recertified. Another great sequence. He's talking to the court or whatever about getting his the licensing committee about getting his license back, and he said, what's all this here? I hear about freaking the pursuit of happiness. I'm pursuing something. Nobody seems too happy about it. Just great stuff. And he ends up convincing them. He passes his test, gets his license, and then he gets the promoter or the trainer for Mason Dixon comes in. He said, "Yo, man, take the fight. This could be a great exhibition mode or exhibition fight." He said, "Where's it at?" I said, "Las Vegas. This is where it's at." Which is obviously that's where Apollo Creed died in Rocky IV. So to me, I've always kind of felt like he kind of remembers Las Vegas as the place where Apollo died. And it's an exhibition, just like Apollo's match. And it's kind of leaning towards the fact that whenever I first saw this, I'm like, okay, it's an exhibition, just like Apollo's match. It's in Vegas, just like Apollo's match where he died. I'm like, is this setting up for Rocky to die here in the ring? Like, what's going on? It's kind of retracing those footsteps because, as you know, when he went against Creed, it was an exhibition match in Vegas against Drago. When Creed went against Drago, it was an exhibition match in Vegas. He died. But yeah, he ends up he accepts the fight. Then you get the fantastic monologue there that I know it's your favorite freaking quote ever, dude.
yeah,
When he's
I
talking to his
just
son
love
out there, and he said, "You used to fit right here in my hand, and this is where you can kind of see Rocky's
Yeah,
like,
let me tell you something you don't already know. The world ain't all about sunshines and rainbows. It's a mean and cruel world out there, and it will beat you to a bloody pulp. Or it's just, it's been such a long time. I need to remember that quote because I just love that, like just that whole speech so much.
but the main part about it is he says it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward.
That's how
Uh,
winning is done.
That's how winning is done. And it's just, it really is. That is such an awesome quote, not just because the quote itself is great, but because you take it back all the way to Rocky 1. And we've talked
Like
about this,
it
right?
bit like it was building to that whole speech.
Exactly. He's getting freaking curveball after curveball. Life's hitting him down, hitting him down, hitting him down all the way throughout. He loses Mickey. He loses Apollo. He loses Adrian. He loses against Clubber. Like you name it. He keeps losing, but he always comes back. He keeps coming back. He keeps moving forward.
And gets
He,
better.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to in the character of Rocky is the fact that nothing, no matter what you do to this guy, he's not giving up. He's coming back. And this little monologue here, it puts all that in a freaking bow for you, and it just gives it to you, and it's awesome stuff. Great stuff. Uh, it none. I mean, after that training montage, he goes to the fight. It's essentially the replay of the first fight with Apollo, and he loses by split decision again. Life goes forward. He's happy. He did what he needed to do. And I think that's awesome. I think it's a phenomenal place to leave the character of Rocky. Phenomenal place to read it. It ties all the way back to the original, where he goes in, he proves he can still stand toe to toe. He gets the stuff out of the basement that Paulie's always talking about in that movie, and he goes the distance, loses by decision. Great stuff. Phenomenal way to tie back to the original. Nice bow. Franchise is done. But is it? No.
Nope, they untied that bow again, and here we are again with a brand new, kind of like, what would you call it? Like, I wouldn't say a brand new franchise, but just like a brand new like chapter. Like
It's a new chapter.
Yeah, like a new
Now, don't get me wrong. Creed and Creed 2, it's all about the character of Creed. But
or
Rocky,
Adonis.
yes. Rocky is critical to that as it familiarizes you, it puts you into the same world. You know what I mean? You get familiar with that. Rocky at this point has become Mickey from the first one. He has taken over
which I feel like that, like at the time between Balboa and Creed, that is a good like it made sense to go with that direction of the story.
Absolutely. He comes back. He's hesitant to train him at first, and then he's like, you know what? No, we're gonna do this thing. And it's a,
Yeah,
he
like hey, like I got out of the game, like, and I'm satisfied right now. Like, but if I do this, I'm afraid I'll get sucked back in.
exactly. Again, he's just living life. Just like he was in the first one, just like he was in the sixth one, and just like now, he's just living life. Creed comes along, he's like, all right, let's do this thing. Eventually, he ends up training him. He becomes Mickey for all intents and purposes. And at this point, again, full circle. Okay, you go from 1 to 3, he becomes Apollo, and then now 1 to Creed, he becomes Mickey. He's now the freaking teacher. He's now the person. He's now the
Like the
mentor.
mentor. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's just great stuff. He's passing along stuff, and it really helps. And we won't get too much into Creed just because he's his own character, but it really helps the character of Creed develop as well and kind of build his character up, because you have Rocky, who you've known from 1976, coming back to be his trainer. You know what I mean? Like, you have every
Yeah.
life experience Rocky's ever had since he's been 30 years old.
Yeah,
You've
and
known
not
about.
only is he helping Adonis like learn to fight better, but he's actually making Adonis a better person too.
Exactly, exactly. And that goes back to the character of Rocky. And what's awesome about this, what's so great about, and what really adds so much to the Creed movies, is that you've seen Rocky in every element of his life since he's become relevant. He was nothing before Rocky. He became something. You've seen him since since when he became something there in Rocky, um, all the way to the end of his career in Rocky Balboa. You know everything there is to know about his life. You know about his wife. You know when he met his wife. You know when his wife died. You know about his first trainer. You know about his first opponent. You know when his first opponent came back to help him out. You know when his first opponent and good friend now has died. You know that Paulie's dead now, who's his best friend, his brother, practically, for all intents and purposes, throughout his life. You know everything there is to know about Rocky. And now he comes back to teach Creed. And it's so powerful to me, because it's like, everything there is to know about this guy, and here he is as a mentor to the new character Creed. And to me, that's just freaking awesome. The fact, I don't know if there's any other movie character in the history of movie characters to where you've actually seen real time his career progress, his life progress to the point of Rocky's. And that's where everything kind of is so awesome for me. Would I have been just as happy with Rocky as if it was just the one movie? Absolutely. But I love the fact that you've seen every step of his life since then, and now here he is back in Creed and Creed 2, bringing it all back full
Right.
circle. Yeah, it's you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty awesome stuff.
No, I understand completely what you mean. Like just a complete character arc from beginning to end.
And it all makes sense. There was
Yeah.
no Yeah, like there's no movie in there that doesn't make sense in his arc. Like,
Well,
everything was written.
maybe five.
Well, Stallone,
Maybe.
yeah, and even then, like, again, it's not the best in the franchise. It's definitely the worst. But again, it makes sense. I mean, well,
Or they did the best to make it make
Yeah.
sense. But it's like 70% makes sense and 30% like
But what I'll tell you, what I like about Rocky 5 is the fact that it does bring Rocky back to his roots. Because I will admit, I love Rocky 3, love Rocky 4, but that's not really Rocky to me. That's not what I've grown to love and appreciate. It's now it makes sense, and I can see where the story takes him, and how it takes him there. But to me, Rocky to me is 1 and 2, and then Rocky Balboa, and then the Creed movies. To me, that's the best portrayals of the Rocky character.
yeah, and
by
I would have
Stallone.
been totally okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's because, yeah, I do love the fact that Rocky 5 takes him back to more grounded, more kind of, more where he's just kind of living life again. Whereas 3 and 4, I love those, and I'm glad they're there, but he's a little bit more sensational there, and he's more, all the money and stuff. Like, you don't relate to that as much. What you do relate to is the guy freaking just living life, getting the opportunities he's gotten, and just doing whatever he can with them. And to me, that's what I love about the character of Rocky.
Yes, and I would say that completes our first episode of the character breakdown. So, Brad, do you want to do the honors this time around, since this is your boy Rocky, on how they can discuss Rocky with you? Since again, that's your favorite character, one of your favorite characters, or the favorite character of all time.
Yeah, let us know. Down below, there's a comment section. There, what you can do is you can type in it. You can let us know what you think about the Rocky character overall. I'd love to know. I know, again, we'll get way more into Rocky down the road. I just wanted to, it's my favorite movie, so I wanted to make sure we kind of talked about this. And let us know what you think about Rocky down below. Bert, where can they help us hunt for the good reels?
Where they can help us along, or join us with the search of the good reels. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, and you can listen to us on a podcast platform on Spotify and Apple Podcast for our longer episodes.
That's right.
If you like our video, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and of course, ring that bell, ding, 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 how appropriate for this video, and join us with the journey for hunting the good reels.
That's right. And I'm sorry, I know this it got longer than I originally anticipated. When I started talking about Rocky, especially the first one, I was going on, I could talk about the first Rocky movie for hours and hours. So I apologize about that. I appreciate it if you're still with us. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the character of Rocky, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love, I love Rocky, and Brad is that main source of why I love the Rocky character and the Rocky franchise as well. We are going to get to a Rocky franchise review series at some point, so I know Brad's looking forward to it. But until then, we will see you next time. And
oh, you fans of Rocky Balboa, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Mr. Gazio. Gazio? It's Mr. Gazzo. He's doing collections for Mazzo. And he's like, Gazzo, what the heck am I doing with this guy's name, dude? What in...
And how you say Apollo Crews, what's the high on my that Rocky
Apollo Crews?
Excuse me.